Alabama at Texas, Saturday, noon Eastern kickoff, big noon kickoff, 96 degrees and sunny there in Austin. We will be there. The Every Given Saturday tour will be at DKR there in Austin, Texas. I found a stat. Well, let me rephrase. Stats and Info found a stat, and they passed it on to me. Did you know Bama's won 53 straight non-conference games? You probably didn't know the exact number. You know they've been pretty successful. Trivia time, which team was the last one to beat them in an out-of-conference regular season matchup? Jeopardy music, Jeopardy music, Jeopardy music. Exactly, it was Louisiana Monroe. I kid you not. That's the last time they lost an out-of-conference game, was 2007, and that was Nick Saban's first year. That was a memorable day. This one may be too, for opposite reasons. Steve Sarkisian has been accused of downplaying the magnitude of this game because he dared to say something factual, and that is, our goal is to win the Big 12. This game doesn't matter in that context. Well, that is, of course, reality. And it is, of course, reality that there's an entire group of people out there who I don't think like Steve Sarkisian very much. He's right about that. He's not downplaying anything. Even if you think he's trying to downplay something, he's not downplaying anything. This is a massive game for Texas. It's a massive game for him as a coach. It's a massive game for the program. It's huge for recruiting. It's huge for the fan base. They've been looking forward to this thing for like 3 or 4 years. How would they pull it off? You know, we do the whole, in these big point spread games, how would the upset happen? Precision and yards after catch. I don't think anyone on that Texas staff thinks that Quinn Ewers is about to have all day to sit back in the pocket and pick Alabama apart. I don't think they believe they're going to have much time to stretch the field, 5-7 step drop. Let's let those long developing routes form down the field. No, no, no. You've got an ultra green offensive line. You got an ultra green starting quarterback. You got the most ferocious pass rush any of these kids will see this year or perhaps in their college careers. You've got to have poise. You got to have precision, accuracy, and you've got to have yards after catch. Because I don't think you're going to get it strictly through the air. Luckily, Texas does have enough athletes to where you can get them the ball, hopefully in enough space. Quick timing, quick rhythm. You saw Sark do it a lot at Alabama. And then they make it happen after the catch. That's one thing that if it consistently were to happen all afternoon, would obviously give Texas a shot in the fourth quarter. The second thing, which I think everyone realizes has to happen, is Xavier Worthy has to essentially be for Texas this Saturday what Devontae Smith was for Alabama. Steve Sarkisian masterfully utilized Devontae Smith. When they played Ohio State in the national title game, which you guys remember, Devontae Smith, he's already won the Heisman, he just goes off. And it was really, really sad to watch if you were a Buckeye fan, partly because of scheme, and partly because he's just such a good athlete, you really had no shot against him. He needed some ridiculous number like 20 catches to set the all-time single-season record. No one catches 20 passes in a game. And he had 12 at the half with over 200 yards and got hurt. So he was out the second half. I think they could have gotten him the record. They utilized him every which way imaginable. Steve Sarkisian Saturday he got to utilize Xavier Worthy every which way imaginable. 15 touches in an ideal world plus is what I would love to see Xavier Worthy have. And that's not always a quick 6-7 yard slant either. You can do that all different kinds of ways. Worthy's got to touch the ball and touch the ball a lot. Now, that's no guarantee at success. You can rest assured Alabama keys on that, but the thing about really good athletes is the best of the best can make you keying on them still be kind of irrelevant. They can just make plays. They call them playmakers for a reason. Also, we haven't seen Alabama go on the road yet this year. It's an early season. And so fresh in everyone's mind is probably their narrow win in the Iron Bowl on the road at Auburn and their loss on the road at Texas A&M and their struggle win on the road early against Florida. The road impacted Alabama last year. This is not last year's team. I know that. Bear with me. We're trying to paint the path how the upset could happen. If they get on the road and they look a little rattled and offense isn't exactly in rhythm and the new pieces on that offensive line aren't exactly in sync, yes, I suppose, along with suspect blocking at tight end right now for them, I could see it, okay? It's not out of the question, maybe not likely, but not out of the question. However, this is where things kind of go downhill. There is no way to sugarcoat how lopsided this matchup's going to be along the line of scrimmage. This Bama pass rush is the best Saban has had. It's the best Texas will have seen. Ultra young and ultra inexperienced on the offensive line. Likewise at quarterback. The risk level that they're going to have to incur at Texas to sustain for 4 quarters and match Bama for 4 quarters, I don't see any way of paying off. And by that I mean you cannot go in there Saturday and thinking, we'll hold Alabama to 24. That's not reasonable. If you do it, hats off to you. It's not reasonable. You probably walk in knowing we need 35 or more. To think we're going to win this game, our starting point is 35. And to do that, it means you need to sustain some drives. Unless you're going to get 21 defensive points out of nowhere, you're going to have to sustain some drives. And that means taking risk, a lot of it, because you're not going to have a lot of time to operate. And unless Bijan Robinson in that run game really finds some traffic inside against Alabama, which I guess could happen, unless you're starting to pound away unexpectedly on the ground, you got to take some risks. And you got to make several of those Steven Garcia throws the Alabama fans love to have nightmares so much about 13 years ago now, 12 years ago now. I can't see that formula playing out and Texas having a goose egg in the turnover column. Is what I'm telling you. They could do it. I mean, they could do it all afternoon. I just think turnovers are inevitable there. So I think they need 35 or more, hold Bama to 34 or less. I think that's what the blueprint is. I do believe, though, now, we will learn a lot about this Texas defense Saturday, because there was a lot of encouraging signs Saturday, and there were a lot of encouraging signs throughout fall camp that they have taken a pretty sizable step. 2 things can be true. They can have taken a sizable step defensively and still not be good enough to limit Alabama. The whole freeze point theory, in other words, I think is going to be in effect Saturday. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. Let's take a look at what the odds makers think. This one was... You know, it's weird because in the summer it was 2 touchdowns, 15, 16. This, as of today, or as of tonight, is Alabama minus 20 at Caesars. Our model has Alabama minus 19. I got to be real with you. I don't think it's going to be as violently ugly as Georgia-Oregon. But it is a classic freeze point game. There are probably 2 teams in America right now that fit the philosophy, Georgia and Alabama. And the philosophy is when you get their full attention, and I can assure you Texas has Alabama's this week. Believe me, I've talked to some folks in the program. You got all of Alabama Saturday. You got the A game. If you get that from them, there are only a couple of teams that even meet the freeze point, which means there are only a couple of teams that can withstand that and have a puncher's chance of beating them. I don't think Texas is one of those teams. And the thing about a point spread and trying to predict is in the college game, if you get A- or better play from an elite team and you don't meet the freeze point, there is no limit to how ugly the game can get. I think the game's going to get ugly Saturday. So I'm taking Alabama to win. I'm taking Alabama to cover. We will be there. So if we're wrong, you won't have to wait long. A couple of minutes after the game, I'll be right there with my little CBS stick mic saying, why didn't I see this coming? I think it's coming, though. I think it's not going to be pretty Saturday. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.